Ito. Wait lang, kailangan na masabaw.
Kung YGG ka, trailblazer,
Helpful.
excellent ka, revolutionary,
Leader, matalungin.
makatawan.
Helping hand.
We focus more on our community,
Ni-empower mo yung mga tao to be
the best version of yourself.
Hashtag alagang YGG.
Enjoy!
We want to be able to educate a lot of people to learn the metaverse skills for this new class of jobs. So we are literally building the school for the builders of the metaverse.
Doon ko po nakukuha yung panghulog ko ng motor, pambayad ng kuryente. Halos lahat na po, doon ko na nakakuha lahat sa pag-aaksi.
Salamat po sa pagiging scholar po kasi naibalik ko din yung tulong na ibinigay sa akin.
Ako, isa akong big fan sa kasabihan na everything happens for a reason.
Ayoko po silang mag-stop pag-aral. Sinabi ko sa kanila na ako na lang po yung mag-stop noon.
Napakaganda kasi kapag nagagamit mo yung influence na bigay sa'yo into a positive impact sa mga tao sa paligid mo.
Welcome to Axie Open Manila 2022. We've got 256 of the world's greatest Axie players all congregating here.
It's one of the biggest Axie tournaments ever organized by YGG. This is just the beginning and we're about to see a lot more exciting stuff happen in Web3 esports.
All right, GM, and welcome everyone to another episode of the YGG AMAs. My name is John Tadano from Media and Community Marketing, together with Sil, our media associate. And tonight we have the masterminds behind Farcana. So this is one of my personally most anticipated shooter games. I am personally am in love with the shooter genre, and we were lucky enough to meet the team from Farcana during the PH Web3 Fest. Did the really dope project here. I gotta try the game myself, but before we move on, we have Louisa, we have Stephen, and we have Islam on our AV today. So guys, how are you guys doing? Please do the honors of introducing yourselves.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for inviting John. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with YGG community. My name is Shazhaev. I am CBDO at Farcana. Here, as you can see, Steve, our head of community, Stephen Iddon, and Louisa Choe, which is game economy.
Awesome. Yeah, I was actually there, right? So I got to meet Steven, I got to meet you, Islam, and I was able to try the game. So this is what I've been telling people. It's rare to see a game that's as this built out in its early stages, and we even have the teaser off the YGG Global and the Indie GG hype video going up head to head against each other in the arena. So would you guys do the honors of sharing your elevator pitch for Farcana with the community right now?
Yeah. Hey guys, hi John. Good to see you again after the Philippines festival. It was great event. We really enjoyed it. It was good to showcase the game there. And yeah, thanks for having us on the AMA. So yeah, regarding Farcana, I guess to sum it up on a high level, it's a high quality third-person shooter game built on Unreal Engine 5, where we're incorporating the brand new play to hash protocol, which is fully backed by a Bitcoin-based rewards economy.
Awesome. And so like let's say we are in it's in its early stages, and Farcana is set to hit the streets like pretty soon. Like from my end of things, I'd love to get to know more about the team over at Farcana. So how did you guys actually decide that this is the project that you want to build, and who are the people actually building it? Who are the people behind the scenes?
Yeah, so I guess the idea started with our founder, Ilman, which is Islam's here, his brother. So he's always been passionate about Bitcoin mining, specifically, how to improve the process. And he's always been a passionate gamer as well. So he thought to innovate by bringing these two sectors together to truly revolutionize what it means by having a game that distributes value to gamers and the ecosystem participants as well.
Gotcha. And I mean, so like the shooter genre is definitely one of the biggest sectors in gaming. You've seen this from the early days with Halo, going up to Counter Strike, and even Call of Duty, and to this day, like we have Valorant, which are basically almost as I'd say like debatably like one of the most like top crossing genres of all time, right? So definitely looking at Farcana, we'd say that this game definitely has the potential to be huge. So like in terms of what you guys are building now in its early stages, like how do you see Farcana, growing its brand? Like what is your vision for it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess first of all, we're first and foremost aiming to be a really good and fun game with an engaging loop, which is pretty hard to come by in the Web3 space at the moment. So we're going to be the first play to hash third-person shooter game entirely on chain and propelling the players to influence and own the game collectively. So the play to hash model is really where our focus is, and it's designed to use Bitcoin mining rewards to ensure that there's a consistent and sustainable reward stream. So then in addition to that, we offer a play to own component as well. And that feature means players who spend time leveling up their in-game assets, which would be their NFTs, can also attain financial gains. And players will be recognized for many of their contributions, whether that's time, effort, expenditure in the game itself. In return, players can own and win within the Farcana gaming metaverse. I guess all existing play-to-earn models use a similar blueprint to one another, which proves to hurt the sentiment amongst the fellow GameFi projects. So for end users that get involved at the right time, they are rewarded, but the majority walk away losing on their investment. And this is inherent to the dual token system that relies on a perpetual increase in players to sustain that value. So I guess our vision is to come in and solve that problem ultimately. I don't think we can get away from the fact that Web3 games, certainly in the near future, that type of crowd is always going to be attracted to come and play. We can't get away from the fact that a lot of people in crypto are here to find something a bit different than traditional gaming, whether that's owning their own assets or potentially earning from the game. So we wanted to solve that economic issue amongst GameFi projects after we built the high quality and fun game.
Gotcha. And I think a really big differentiator nowadays is that you do have to have a a high quality game. Like we have seen the first iterations of blockchain games, right? And now, as time passes, like independent studios and also like big studios are already slowly developing like AAA games, and Farcana is definitely not far from from what can be the next generation of blockchain games, right? And you've mentioned your play to hash model. So could you give us a more in-depth description of how the play to hash model actually works?
Yeah, so basically what play to hash means is that the in-game emissions of Bitcoin are regulated by the hash rate, which comes from mining facilities owned by Farcana itself. So this allows us to use our native token simply for utility within the game. It won't be given out as a reward, which is what we see in traditional gamified projects so far. So yeah, as I say, it'll just simply be for different utilities in the game and the overall ecosystem. So the token inherits its value without the need for mainstream pay-to-win mechanics. And the blockchain enables players to earn real money through the many activities involving playing, winning, selling, trading, creating and owning, of course. So by holding and exchanging the FAR token within this blockchain fueled economy, players can then sustainably be rewarded for their time doing what they love, playing the game. So I guess on a more technical level, the play to hash will be operated through a smart contract, which we're actually utilizing a protocol called Stacks, which I'm not sure if any of the community here are familiar with, but it's basically a smart contract layer for Bitcoin, which has been in development for a number of years, but has only really started to come into prominence within the last 6 to 12 months. And that enables us to take the Bitcoin directly from the mining facilities and directly into players' wallets within the game itself. So we're quite excited to bring that out.
Gotcha. So let's say, from how I understand it, is that correct me if I'm wrong. So, well, you guys are basically like gamifying the mining pool systems that are in place that we have now. Correct? Is that how it works?
Sort of, yeah.
Gotcha.
On the right line.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Can add a few things. Yeah, as you mentioned, in the future, in the near future, play to hash protocol itself, it will be first gamify mining pool. That's our goal for the play to hash protocol as a product. So at the end, it will be first gamify mining pool, where other games also will be able to join this system and make their economies also sustainable to solve their existing problems. That's how it will look like. So yeah, in that case, it's mining pool, gamify mining.
Gotcha. And I mean, like the Bitcoin, the Bitcoin network, the whole Bitcoin blockchain, right? So there is a problem of, there's the issue of scalability and speed. So how do you guys, how are you guys tackling that? Like, are you guys using the Lightning Network, or how does it? What's the tech behind this to make sure that everything is up to speed, everything is synced, and if you're playing in game real time, like how do we get all the numbers or all the transactions reflected in real time, basically?
So just to clarify on that, the game itself doesn't actually run on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Okay, gotcha.
We're simply just using Bitcoin as the rewards in the game for the players, and that's a simple matter of transactions being paid out to winners on a timely basis. So it's not as if there's millions of Bitcoin flying around every few minutes within the game itself. So as you know, that may cause a few issues, like you mentioned. But no, the play to hash protocol is separate to how the game will run itself. We actually are excited to announce in the very near future which chain that the game will be launching on. I think everyone here will be very happy with the chain that we decide. So stay tuned on that, because we should be announcing that in the near future.
Yeah, gotcha. I think I might have a few guesses of which blockchain you guys will be choosing, but yeah, it definitely makes sense. So aside from the rewards, which is based off Bitcoin, right? So what other parts of the game will be will be on chain?
So for the on-chain transactions themselves, there's going to be a number of different utilities, mostly tied to the FAR token itself. So there'll be in-game purchases such as consumables, as well as things like assets where there'll be weapons, vehicles, skins, and users will be able to level up their NFT characters and weapons. And we'll also have our own bespoke marketplace, which I believe is fully built now. So we're happy to roll that out soon with the launch of the game. That will obviously consist of the NFTs, the land system that we have, and then those character upgrades as well. And then in addition to that, we'll have NFT loot boxes, which will be unlockable with the FAR tokens as well. And a unique staking system to incentivize our landowners and their communities to lock up as much supply as possible in order to access more of the Bitcoin hash rate and therefore the Bitcoin rewards. And on top of that, we'll also have community-based governance on chain as well.
Gotcha. So you've mentioned, Steve, that you've mentioned that we Farcana will have land, right? So which parts of the game, how does a land gameplay or how does the land feature actually work?
Yeah, so I guess the best way to describe the land is the best way for me to describe it is it functions like a server. So I don't know if you've ever played games like World of Warcraft where you can select which server that you want to play on, and each server will have different statistics. That's down to locations, numbers of players, which will both be factors in ours as well. But we'll also then have the amount of hash rate, the amount of Bitcoin rewards that will to that land. So there'll be a number of different factors which can alter whether or not a player will choose one land or another. Initially, we're just starting with 7. There won't be thousands of servers or lands to choose from, but each one will be specific to a gaming community, and those communities will then be incentivized to govern their own land. The landowners can potentially, if they choose to do so, they can fractionalize this land and allow their community to have an ownership in the land itself. So there's many exciting avenues we can go down on the land front. I think it's another thing, in addition to play to hash, that's quite unique about our game and really revolutionary. We'll also have our own land, so there will be a Farcana land which will be owned and managed by us. And this will be so we can set the standard and the benchmark in terms of the staking yields, tournament standards, and then we hope that the other landowners will attempt to compete with us in a sense, so to try and attract players to play on their land. And overall, the organic competition will improve the overall game experience.
Gotcha. Like that's actually pretty cool, right? So we see, we see a lot of shooter games like the FPS, TPS games, where they have a lot of servers for different regions, right? And now like what you guys are doing is that you are actually decentralizing the management and also some sort of ownership of these servers, right? So we can eventually have, let's say, YGG server that specializes in a specific game mode. And people who want to play on the YGG server, who wants to also play with YGG players, can now look for that server in game, where the server is actually also owned by YGG in the form of an NFT, I assume. And we also set the rules. We also set the parameters of how which players are going to be playing in our servers, right? So I think that's something that hasn't been done before, or if I'm not mistaken, right? So definitely something pretty interesting this year, and I'd want to learn more about how this actually is translated into esports. Let's say, for example, like if YGG wants to host their own tournaments, to buy our own plot of land and set that as our own dedicated esports server. And I mean, there's a as you said, Steve, like there's a lot of possibilities here, right? But before we even go even further into our AMA, everyone at home, we actually have two videos that we prepared for you guys. For those who haven't seen Farcana just yet, like this is going to be a taste of what's in store for everyone. So Sil, roll that video.
Let's go.
knock us down. Yeah, yeah. What we do when you knock us down? Life will be throwing you L's and you be falling right down. Somebody stealing your fame, yeah, they stealing your crown. Somebody throwing that sword, yeah, they throw your game. You shooting for that fortune and you feel that blame. When you really want to do it, when you want me down, you can't hold me down.
Hell yeah. That's pretty sick. Dope, 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 dope. So yeah,
Yeah.
everyone at home, you guys, you definitely better be ready for what you're signing up for, right? So we've got a lot of avid FPS players in the YGG community, and I think it's about time. It's about time for the Web3 gaming space to actually get a taste of what the future of shooter games can and will be. And yeah, our fingers crossed. But we have Farcana like on the radar of YGG. We definitely will be checking out the game as soon as it gets released. So let's talk about release date. So Stephen, Islam, like what dates are we looking at, and what can we expect when Farcana hits the ground?
I guess for a release date, it's looking more towards the end of Q2 now, to be honest. Obviously, due to a lot of things happening with the market conditions, it's a very particular scenario that we find ourselves in, because we obviously want to release our own token. We're going to have an NFT collection, and those things we're adamant need to coincide with the launch of the game, or at least within a very short time frame of one another. So we're biding our time. We're still making constant improvements on the game. We're not just going to rush this out for the sake of it. So yeah, I mean, I know some of our community may have anticipated an earlier release date, but we're playing it as safe as possible to ensure that the best launch conditions. So it's looking more likely now in Q2.
Yeah, but the next point for us is like in February we will hold our first kind of tournament with the Polygon version. We name it as a Polygon version. It will be really light version of the game, but for the Southeast Asia market there will be a big tournament with Bitcoin prizes. There will be big QLs who will be fighting each other in our game to have more kills and get the chance to have Bitcoin. But in the March already we will release our alpha version for the testing, and community will be able to play till approximately 1,000 players. But yeah, as we mentioned, as Steve mentioned already, we are looking now to launch full game a bit later, because we don't want to rush it, and there is a lot of details which have to be polished by the moment of the launch. That's why we don't want to rush it too much.
Yeah, gotcha. I mean, it totally makes sense. But yeah, for everyone at home, so Shanks, there's your answer. Q2 is the date that we are waiting for. So in the YGG community, we actually have a lot of these guys, playing different FPS, TPS games, like day in and day out, like Team Fortress, Halo, Quake, Valorant, like the list goes on. And yeah, it's pretty nuts. Now we actually have an excuse to be playing shooter games inside the YGG Discord, right? But yeah, so everyone at home, let me remind you that we are right now live across the board. We are on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Discord, and Twitter video as well. So if you guys have questions, make sure to drop by the YGG Discord for the live Q&A. So that's discord.gg/YGG. And for everyone else who is here right now, let's do a quick roll of shout outs to all of our friends who are with us in the AMA voice channel. So shout outs to Renell, Boa, Abby, Big Boss, Boring, Bert, Shoes, Control, Crypto Vitez, and also we have Ekerdram, we have Rolo, Hypon, K8, Kenny D, Cookie Maru, we have Mundax, Mosama, Mark2, Psyche, of course, and Senhu, Steffi, Sil, of course, was also here with us on the AMA Cupcake, YG Carrot, and Zoom and Huya Kim. So, yeah, everyone at home, make sure to share the stream, make sure to share this AMA. And don't worry if you guys have friends who weren't able to make it tonight because it is a Friday night for the guys in the Philippines and Singapore, GMT +8, but it is going to be Thursday morning. If I'm not mistaken. No, it's going to be Friday morning for everyone in ET. But yeah, the stream, the AMA is recorded, so make sure to send the links to your friends. So it's on YouTube and everywhere else. We are live across the board once again. But yeah, let's try to get a bit into like this technical side of things. So one of the biggest issues of shooter games, undeniably, it's botting, it's hacking. So what is the Farcana team, doing to be able to prevent, especially that we're talking about, a reward system that is very sensitive. There's no going back, if anything goes wrong with the rewarding of the tokens, of the Bitcoin to the community. So how will we solve this issue of hacking and bots?
Steve, I guess your mic is off.
You're muted, Steve.
Sorry, I had myself muted. Yeah, so what we're doing to combat the cheating and the botting system is we partnered up with a company, I'm not sure if you're familiar, called Easy Anti-Cheat, which is developed by Epic Games, who created Unreal Engine, which is the #1 anti-cheat system within the industry. So that will help us to remove the utmost amount of hackers from the supported games, and help us keep everything secure. Because you are right, obviously there's obviously with bigger prize pools, it's going to attract nefarious characters. Unfortunately, it's the world that we live in. But there's also another security layer named Fog of War, which limits the amount of information given to a player. So this is specifically to target bots. So it scans all of the available buildings and terrain within the maps themselves. And based on those scans, the system then determines what the player should see and limits information given ahead of time. So it's almost like an X-ray system. I mean, I'm not the developer myself, so I don't fully understand that on a deep level, but that's the high level overview of the anti-cheat and bot systems that we have.
Oh yeah, gotcha. So like we're looking at Easy Anti-Cheat straight from Unreal Engine, and also we're looking at Fog of War. So there's technically there's two layers of anti-cheating and anti-hacking that that Farcana will be utilizing moving forward, right? So I might be missing out on stuff here, but yeah, like feel free to jump in and and cut me up at any time. But so how does the rewards or how will the rewards be issued to the players? Like, will it be the same as as games like Axie Infinity, where whatever collected tokens will be sent out or will be claimable in in epochs or in in a specific time frame? So like maybe that gives these games the chance to actually like review the actions, review the accounts if they are actually illegitimate, if they're actually like if they're actually credible. Yeah, I mean, how does that rewarding time frame work?
Yeah, exactly. That was the best example that we could describe it with, really, is very similar to how Axie works currently. Where we're going to create users a Bitcoin wallet on their account creation. That will happen behind the scenes, so the users don't necessarily even know they're creating a Bitcoin wallet, because as I'm sure everyone here has experienced, using the likes of MetaMask is relatively straightforward, whereas an on-chain Bitcoin wallet is a little bit different. So we partnered up with another protocol that will create that behind the scenes, and then obviously once the users have this wallet created under their account, it will function like you mentioned, like Axie, where the rewards are paid out not per game but on a more tournament or seasonal format. So there's then time for us to eliminate any cheaters or botters. We're able to make those reviews in order to determine whether that player has legitimately earned their rewards. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Um,
So, oh, go ahead, Sully. You're gonna say something.
yeah. Sorry. Just a bit of a question. I was actually quite wondering, since you have mentioned that you are about to release the alpha testing pretty much soon. So I'm actually quite curious on how you will be selecting players, or which region are you specifically targeting for the testing. Since if I'm not mistaken, the servers for this one are would be separate per region, and yeah, how would be the selection process take place?
So yeah, to be honest with you, it's not fully determined as of yet, but we're certainly adamant about offering these spots. I mean, we've given out a limited number already to some of our loyal community members and a few competition winners, but primarily for the testing aspect, we'll be using guilds that we partner with, such as YGG. So there will be limited number of spaces. And obviously we're then going to have to coordinate that on the server level, like you mentioned. So that's something that we're currently working on. So hopefully we'll be able to reveal the full details within the next month or two.
Gotcha. So you've heard it first from Steven himself, guys. So better pull those teams together, maybe get started practicing, get that aim labs back up and installed, and get that aim back to 100%, guys. So you know how it is. We definitely keep you guys in the loop for any announcements from our friends over at Farcana for any game testing or any pre-alpha opportunities for the community, for sure, 100%. So let's move forward a bit with so we've talked about how we can safeguard the Farcana economy or the Farcana game in itself. So now we are ready to tackle esports, right? So if you have a stable game, you have a stable reward system. Now how will esports look like? So I'm pretty sure we have guilds in place. We can even, we even see, professional Web 2 esports teams, hopping on into the Farcana ecosystem, trying their hand at it, even seeding their own, pro players to, try to make a name for themselves in the game in itself. So, but yeah, what plans do you guys have for esports for Farcana? That's what I'm trying to ask here.
Yeah, so it's definitely 100% an avenue that we want to go down. And I think we will do it at the earliest available opportunity for us. It's unrealistic to say we're going to have official esports tournaments from day one, since it's going to be a game that is certainly due to grow over time, and there'll be iterations needing to be made. There could still be some small balancing mechanisms that just need to be adjusted before we can really hone in on something on a really high level. But ultimately, it's technically will be esports from the beginning. I guess we will also showcase some tournaments. We're going to be using a number of high-profile KOLs and existing Web 2 gamers. So I guess there will be elements of it from the beginning, but on a more competitive level, it will develop over time. Throughout, not in a long time, but certainly after the first few months of the launch.
Yeah, gotcha. And go ahead,
I
Islam.
can add things here. Yeah. So actually, as Steve mentioned, our game is esports game from beginning, right? It's technically esports game, but the thing is, we will definitely use guaranteed mechanics which is used before by biggest players such as PUBG. For example, PUBG model of esports mechanics, like how it looks like. They made tournaments in each region of their audience, like each quarter, like once in a quarter, once in 3 months, and between these tournaments, they make engagement of community with with big stars, streaming the game, all the streaming platforms they connecting for this one, and in that way they have daily active users number, and this number is keeping all the time from one tournament to another tournament. We will use the same thing, but the main difference between PUBG, Valorant, even Overwatch is that our game itself is esports. So we have our reward system by Bitcoin, which will be increasing each month proportionally, And the main thing is that our tournament will be much more often, right? So it will start by one tournament in a month, but at the end we see it like each like daily tournaments with separate prizes and the separate lengths. So in that way, we will use like already proven mechanics, but much more often with higher quality. That's what I can say about that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it's glad that you brought it up because yeah, you've mentioned like all these other like huge gaming IPs like PUBG, even Counter Strike or whatnot. But like what we've seen in the Web3 space is that esports for games that are built by independent studios is that the community will usually be the ones who will lead the way for esports, right? So we're going to be seeing a lot of community events. We're going to be seeing a lot of community tournaments. We have platforms like community gaming that caters to games that aren't, fully fledged, like released in the market yet. So even for alpha testing, even for early stages, they already are providing tools for different communities to actually flourish and have them host their own their own events, right? And I think that's an essential part of learning the market, I would say. It's actually being able to get feedback while being able to grow the game at the same time. So we've seen this with Axie Infinity, right? We've also seen this with Splinterlands. So we've seen this with even League of Kingdoms is actually hosting a community tournament as well. But then if we're talking about physical activation, like let's say like a Southeast Asia finals or like a European qualifiers or whatnot, like these come when the game is ready and these come when we have the numbers and the community. But at the end of the day, if we have the game, if we have a reward system in place, which is the ethos of Web3 games, then that should follow. It should fall right into place. Like even in YGG, like we had the main Axie Infinity tournament like a year and a half after Axie Infinity blew up in Web3, right? So if these kinds of things take time, but that doesn't mean that there won't be players who will be taking it seriously like very very early on, because there always will be. And but yeah, I mean, leading to my question is that will there be tools, or will Farcana have built-in features that will let people, create their own community events or community tournaments?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that touches on to what our land system can empower certain communities to do. Ultimately, it's at the discretion of the landowner. But for example, if the landowner really wanted to decentralize the whole process and allow the community to decide, what happens and when, we're going to be happy to facilitate that. Whether that's down to more frequent tournaments, specific game modes, these things can all be voted on by the community itself. And I guess ultimately there's nothing preventing this happening on like a smaller scale. For example, like if 100 players within a specific community want to set up a specific tournament in a specific game mode, and if that passes that land governance vote, so the landowner facilitates that, then we're going to be happy to oblige. And there's also down the avenue, which is another thing that I'm quite excited about, where landowners will have their own specific section or filter within the marketplace, and that will empower their community to create their own content. So, for example, YGG could host a competition where content creators can design skins, and those skins are then voted into the game by the community itself. That's just one small example. But we're also looking at, a little bit further down the line, a sandbox for the lands itself. So actually create assets within the maps, potentially even full maps altogether. So the possibilities really are endless when you decentralize a lot of these processes. We've been very careful not to make things that really or potentially imbalance the game through governance. I think anyone who's played FPS games knows that you couldn't really give full control to the players because it would turn into absolute chaos. But where and when we can, we're certainly looking to do that, and we want to make the players feel as empowered and included as possible without affecting the actual game mechanics itself.
Gotcha. So yeah, definitely, it definitely boils back, and it just it's full circle once again to the other features that Farcana, aside from the game itself, aside from the shooter game itself, that you guys are going to be rolling out. It's the NFTs, it's the land, and all the other, opportunities that comes with it, and all the other, as you said, all the other flexibilities that we have when you start decentralizing parts of the game. And I think, yeah, this is definitely the distinction between what a Web 2 and a Web 3 shooter game can and will be in the very near future. But yeah, I mean, I'm convinced. I love the game from the onset. I believe I was able to talk to you, Stephen, like on the ground, even Islam, back in the PH Web 3 Fest, and we definitely have our eyes on Farcana for sure. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to be turning over the stage for community questions. So we'll be leading that. So before we move over, make sure before we hop off, before we end the AMA, make sure to shoot down your questions, drop them in with Discord. It's discord.gg/YGG, and we are over at the AMA voice channel. So yeah, go for it. Don't forget to share the stream, and yeah, let's do it. So go for it.
Okay, so while we're in the topic of esports and customizing the lands for tournaments, there's a question actually that has been prepared by the community. So is there a maximum or a minimum number of Farcana tokens for the landowners to stake to fully customize their lands for tournaments? So any numbers or any hints that you guys already have for the landowners to actually prepare for the upcoming tournaments and customizability of esports?
So it won't be a specific number, but a percentage. So the landowners will be receiving tokens as part of their investment, and what we're asking is for 90% to unlock tokens at any given point to remain staked. So it helps keep the supply, completely off the market. There's still a small amount available there for them to use for incentives and whatnot. But as the unlocks happen over the vesting period, we're asking that 90% of that stays locked up at any given point. So we're also exploring the possibility of dual token pools. So again, guilds like YGG can have their own token. We're looking to potentially combine that value to achieve the minimum TVL, which is something, again, we're quite excited about.
Awesome. And I think that actually answered that question. Another question that I'm actually quite interested is that it was from Mangdags on our Discord channel. So he actually have seen that Farcana has been integrated with Senso. So are there any plans in the future for Farcana to actually have an AR or VR experience?
Yeah,
so
Islam. Yeah, I will ask that one. Answer that one. So the thing is, we have here Farcana Labs that we're talking about, and in our office we have big laboratory, which is laboratory of Farcana Labs. Here we already have some kind of full VR, like full VR AR equipment, But it's like a full suite from Ready Player One movie. We already have our video materials with that, and our guests, which is coming into our office, they have a chance to try that. But in case of availability for the players, for the usual players, there's a lot of questions to solve, and we will definitely provide full suite, but it will be a bit later, not on the time of the launch. It will be a bit later. I guess it will be after 1 year or after the launch of the game, because when it comes to tech side, you need to be like more careful, because it will be used by people and it's hardware, right? We will have definitely like much earlier launch of our main technologies, which is OpenBCI, which is Farcana Ring, like AI generating sound for the game, all other like few other technologies as well. But full suite, it will be a bit later. But the trial one we already have in our labs, so yeah.
And that's actually quite good to hear. And I'm actually been part of the early stages of VR here in the Philippines, and it's quite really exciting to see a lot of games already integrating AR and VR. And you might know, you'll never know that the future is already in VR. And yeah, there's a lot of jokes right now on Discord saying that it's gonna be like Sword Art Online, wherein if you die on the game, you're also going to be having a problem in real life. So yeah. Also, while we're on the topic of discussing Farcana Labs, since you have already mentioned it, so how will Farcana Labs actually improve the player's user experience in the game when it comes to using AI? Since Farcana Labs is actually focusing a bit much more on AI rather than the Farcana game itself.
Yeah, exactly. So answering that one, we have, as I mentioned before, few lines of our technologies. There is like about six technologies which will be launched in the first year of Farcana game. So we will have open BCI technology, which will be used by players. It will look like on the first, like a helmet wearing on the head, and this helmet will reading the emotions from your brain. Like it will be reading brain impulses, which detecting emotions of the players, and teammates will see emotions of each other in the game in a live game, right? So it will be, of course, the whole like the panel and dashboard of the technology will not show it in the game because it will be uncomfortable, but it will look like kind of aura of the character, and color of this aura will be changing depend of the emotions of the player. So that's how it will look like. It's our first AI technology. Then we will have Farcana ring. We already have it here. You're wearing this ring, it's reading your biometrical data and gives you perfect sound in your headphones, which is like automatically regulated. So like each player will have sound which is perfectly matching with his own biological data. Then after that, which is attached to this one, we have AI, which is generating music for the players. So, like as I mentioned, first technology will be able to detect emotions, but the AI that generates music will be generating music for the emotions of the player. So, for example, he have one frag, two frag, he have his line, he's excited, and headphones will give him a sound, and our AI will give him a sound which will make him more excited, which will be like kind of rock and roll or whatever it is. So he wants to do more, and the same thing on opposite side. That kind of technologies will have, and of course the beauty of AI is like in the first line once we launch, there will be a lot of hardware. There will be, as I said, a helmet. There will be headphones. But for example, the helmet and emotions detection technology, after half or 1 year of using, after we have some data, we will remove the hardware at all, and we will be able to detect these emotions just with the data of movements of the fingers for the mobile users and the movements of the mouse on the PC users. So they will be able to use the same technology even without hardware. For the first launch and for the first year, we have that kind of plan for our AI. This is kind of experience what users can explain in our world.
Wow, that is really exciting, and I can actually imagine on esports when everyone is really tense, and it actually shows on your character on the screen, and everyone's like on poker face, and it's gonna be fun, and it's gonna be really it's
Yeah,
a really new
that's
concept, and it's really fun. I can actually
yeah,
imagine.
I'm so excited to see that. We're excited to use it already on the esports tournaments, as you mentioned.
I can I can imagine people gonna do a straight face anymore while playing. It's
That's gonna
either
be
you just
really good
they're good.
content, right? That's gonna be really, really good content.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, again, if you have more questions, please drop it down on our Discord channel on AMA discussion, and we have a few more questions available here. So another questions more on the play to hash model. So how can you actually manage a volume of DAU mining power to what you own physically? So if you own a somewhat okay PC, how does Forcana or the game itself helps you do the mining side of things?
Yeah, answering this question, the first thing, many people is a bit confused by this question. They think we will use somehow their own devices, like device, the GPU to mine, but we don't attach to this like at all, at all. We will not use any device, any power of any player's device to do mining, and it's technically will not be there. So the main thing is that we like we made mining, and all mining side will be fully on our side. It will be classic mining of Bitcoin with our trusted partners, which will be providers of hash rate, and everything will be provided by our side. Players like don't have to worry about it at all. And about high volume of daily active users, only on the launch of our game, at the moment of the launch of our game, there will be 2 bitcoins per month generating by our hash rate. But each month, like with the right proportion of new players in our ecosystem, there will be increasing of our hash rate of mine, like our mining power. So there also will be not question with the rewards at all, because each month it will be increasing, and at the end of the year we are looking to like significant more number of Bitcoin rewards for our players. Like more players, more rewards. It will be working only this way, and these both numbers are attached to each other. So, yeah.
Yeah, just to expand on that a little as well. So that how that works is there'll be a percentage of all revenues that the Farcana makes that will automatically go back into a pool which invests in more hash rate. So it will always be an increasing number in order to accommodate more and more players over time. And there's also the potential and what we certainly anticipate for landowners to invest in. I'm not going to say as much as they want, but the possibilities are, the ceiling is really, really high. We're not anticipating that the ceiling is reached, but landowners can invest into as much hash rate as they want. So where I mentioned earlier that there will be organic competition to bring players to your land. So what will really incentivize players is higher rewards. So to do that, then you can purchase more hash rate, offer more Bitcoin, and that in itself will increase the reward. But again, it depends on how many players are paid out in the reward structures, which again are customizable down to the landowner or the community governance. So we don't feel that it'll ever hit a stumbling block. It will only ever grow, which is cool.
All right, all right. So, I actually have a question that you have brought. Since you have brought up that players are able to choose their own lands wherein they can play, right? So it's gonna be like the landowners are going to be enticing people to play on their own land. So, does that mean that each land has a separate currency or a separate reward for their own tournaments, or is it gonna be centralized within the entire Farcana server?
So it won't be their own currency, but they will have separate rewards pools. So there'll be like an amount that is available to compete for, I guess, at the start of each season or tournament, and that will be applicable to each land separately. So to begin with, they're all going to be the same, but then over time, we anticipate that those numbers are going to change quite dramatically in some senses. Some landowners may decide not to stake all their tokens, in which case their hash rate is going to go right down, their rewards are going to go down. And then on the flip side, some landowners are going to want to bring in as many players as possible because it becomes a revenue generating asset for them as well. Especially if it then becomes community owned, which is what we're really hoping for. It becomes fully decentralized, and players or investors can pull together, bring in more hash rates, and increase those rewards. So yeah, each land will have separate reward pools. So you can potentially compete in multiple, but obviously your time is probably best spent focused on one.
That's actually good to hear, and I'm actually quite excited if there's gonna be a feature like a land versus land, like YGG has their own land, IndieGG has their own land, and we're gonna go an all-out war. Then gonna have a certain reward for that one, and I think that's a good concept in the future, maybe. And yeah,
Yep.
I think you guys are planning like that since I seen the trailer for YGG and IndieGG, so I was actually quite visualizing like a clan war or a battle for conquering their land or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. It's something that we forgot to mention earlier, but we'll also have huge tournaments on the Farcana land, which will be we're looking at on a quarterly basis and also an even bigger one on a yearly basis. And that will be for the best performing lands, so to speak, which is essentially the best performing guilds. And they'll be invited to compete in a huge tournament where we'll, garner tons of sponsorships and prize pools will be absolutely massive. And that'll be where we start to really hone in on the esports. So obviously those guilds are going to want their best players competing in these tournaments. So it's really hone in on that avenue.
Yeah,
it's
esports.
also it depends on community, you know. If community want, we can even do a Grand Prix of sub-DAOs of YGG, where in the final they will meet with YGG, right? We can do in this way. It will be quite interesting, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Esports is certainly bright at Farcana, and I'm really excited on what's stored once the game has officially launched. So I think that's it for all the community questions so far. Going once, guys. No more questions. And yep, I think that's it for the community questions that we have for this AMA.
Awesome stuff, guys. Thank you so much. So we are right at the top of the hour. Yeah, before we go, let's do one more roll call of all the socials off Farcana. So everyone at home, make sure to support and yeah, visit their Discord, share, follow them on Twitter. Yeah, tell your friends about the game, and definitely we will be seeing a lot more from these guys. Maybe we can do next time around. Maybe we can do a gameplay AMA. Where we go inside the game and actually test it out, play with some of the community members. That would be dope to do for our next the next time we meet with the team. But yeah, so do you guys have any other words for the community, for the YGG community before we go? And go for it.
Go forward, Steve. I will give it to you.
And no, just thank you very much, everyone, for listening, for tuning in. It was a pleasure to speak to you all. Great to see you again, John, since the Philippines. Looking forward to working with you guys more. And yeah, certainly get everyone in the Discord, follow on our socials, because I think this year is going to be huge for us.
Yeah, I will add from my side. Okay, thank you guys for the invitation, for this great opportunity to share our project with your community. And for your communities itself, especially, we have a message. We're starting our marketing. We started our to build a hype, to make a hype. Like everything is depend on your community. Don't be shy to give us your best feedback. It can be hate, it can be anything. We are open to anything, like every feedback that you can give. We will do our first, as I say, tournaments, like competitions already in February with our community. Mainly it will be in Discord, and we will do some future which will be attached to your time that you're spending in our Discord. So you will be rewarded for your time that community is spending in our Discord. So in that case, let's keep in touch with us. Thank you so much.
For sure. It's a pleasure. Happy to see you guys once again. But yeah, before we go, everyone at home or everyone on the YGG Discord, everyone else watching from all the other socials of YGG. So right after this AMA, we are going to be having a quiz. We're going to be having a YGG AMA quiz. We're going to be asking some questions, and we have a prize pool dedicated for everyone else who will be able to answer our Farcana related questions over there. So yeah, stay tuned. YGG Discord, discord.ygg. We are at the AMA discussion channel, and yeah, we'll see you guys in a bit. But until then, Steven, Islam, Sil, it's been a pleasure. definitely count us in. We will be seeing you guys in game. Once again, my name is Iddon from Media and Community Marketing. And yeah, I'll be seeing you guys in the metaverse. Peace.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.